The sun was slowly rising, signaling the start of a new day. Flying Pokémons had begun to take their flight before the sun has completely risen. Other Pokémon as well was also leaving their nest to start a new day. At the middle of the sky, where the sun was rising, a couple was watching the sun rise while holding each other lovingly. The two was sitting on top of a cloud that was solidified with the help of Ash's powerful aura. The sunrise is very beautiful, Ash. Elena said as she cuddles closer to Ash's chest, her eyes not leaving the sunrise. Ash smiled at her before wrapping one of his wings at her body, giving her body warmth. Yeah, it's one of life's greatest beauty. How was your night, Elena? Ash asked while watching the sun rise and as he held Elena close to chest. It was wonderful, Ash. That was the best sleep I have in months. I think it's because I was sleeping on top of a cloud and with your wings as my blanket. That and because I was lying with my favorite pillow, you. Elena giggled, while Ash blushed a bit. Thanks, I'm flattered that I could be your personal pillow. Ash said with a smile as he shook his head. Hey, you're a very comfortable pillow, Ash. Elena said as she smiled at him for a bit before gazing back at the sun. Ash smiled at her momentarily before frowning a bit, his eyes never leaving his beloved. After a moment, Ash once again glanced at the sunrise with a bitter expression which did not go unnoticed by Elena. Elena was confused before the realization hit her which caused her to frown in sadness and to shed a tear from her beautiful blue eyes. An uncomfortable silence was felt between the two. Elena was the one who broke the silence with a broken voice. I'm leaving soon. I know, another 15 days of cold and lonely nights for me. Ash said in a depressed voice. I'm sorry, Ash. I really am sorry. Elena said with tears now flowing from her eyes as he looked at Ash. Ash looked at her and forced up a smile. He then lifted a finger and wiped a tear that was flowing from her eyes. He then cuffed her chin and tilts her chin towards his direction so that they could face each other, eye to eye. Don't cry, I'll see you again in 15 days' time and I promise you I would make our next date worth your while. This isn't a big deal for me. Yes, I would admit that whenever we are apart it hurts like hell every second, but just as long that I know that we'll meet again, it would be worth it. Ash said in a soft tone. Elena stopped crying a moment and smiled bitterly. You do know that my break is 1 week before I have to return to my work. If you want I could stay in the shadows and we could meet every night, or you could finally introduce me to your friends. Elena whispered. Ash merely smiled and nodded his head into a negative. I would like that, you have no idea how much I would like that, but. Ash looked down, breaking their eye contact. If you stay for a week, no, if you just stay for another 2 days beside me, I can't guarantee that you'll be returning to your work. Ash said with a serious yet warm expression written in his face. Elena nodded in understanding. She knew that she has the option of staying with Ash for an entire week, but she and surprisingly Ash is against that idea. They would love to spend more time together, don't get them wrong, but both of them knows for a fact that if they spend that much time with each other together, they would never want nor dream to leave each other. They would be inseparable, and for them, that would be a major understatement. I understand, Elena mumbled under her breath. Thank you, now let's watch the sunset. Ash said as he placed right arm over Elena, pull her closer to his body. Elena smiled and cuddled closer to Ash. Scene change. Koyuki was walking back and forth, which annoyed the 3 Pokémons present there. She has been frantic since she had woken up from her slumber because of one reason, and that reason was her so-called parents had been gone for the entire night. She knew the reason why, but she still worries. Where are they? Father and mother should have arrived by now. Koyuki exclaimed as she shook her head frantically. Calm down, Koyuki, you know that we and Mistress Elena will leave today. Give your father some time to relish his mate. A Shini Empoleon said as he looked at the white Lucario. Yeah, Koyuki, you know Ash loves to spend time with Elena and to showboat in front of her. Pikachu said while eating some ketchup that came out of nowhere. Give those two some time. Yeah, Koyuki, they may be mating right now so that you could have a younger sibling. An exceptionally large female salamence said, which caused the 3 Pokémon to jump of their skin. Well, almost. Are you crazy, you perverted dragon? I am not ready to have a little Ash walking around. Pikachu shouted, dropping the bottle of ketchup. Although having a little Elena run around seems to be bearable. Pikachu added in a whisper. You see, Pikachu seems to like the idea. Salamence said with a yawn. You know, every time I hear you say something like that, it makes me wonder how you became more stronger than me. Empoleon said as he looked at Large Dragon. Don't ever say something like that. I still want to be an only child for at least 5 years before having a little sibling. Koyuki said in outrage. It means those two have not yet consummate their passion yet, interesting. Slamence said, which caused the others look at her like she was crazy. Well, technically, Pikachu was looking at her like crazy while Empoleon was restraining Koyuki from killing their only ride back home. Pikachu decided to walk away from the three before he becomes totally insane, but was stopped from his tracks when he saw a blue feather drop down from the sky. Pikachu looked up and smiled. Just in time, or else I would electrocuted this three. Pikachu mumbled under his breath. Hey Koyuki, look up. This may calm you down. Pikachu said, which caused Koyuki to stop struggling from Empoleon's grip and looked up to see her father and mother descending from heaven. That sight made her smile. Yes, father and mother were okay. Koyuki exclaimed, letting out a sigh of relief. They're not even in danger in the first place. The Salamence retorted, which earned her a bullet punch on the head and earning her an early bedtime. Number 1 asked you perverted dragon. Koyuki growled. Oh great, our only way back home is KO. Empoleon whined. Ash was smiling as he descended down towards where Pikachu, Koyuki and Elena's other Pokémons is. Elena, on the other hand, was nuzzling into Ash's chest, savoring the moment. Hey Elena, next time you take a break, please tell me first so I could at least look presentable. Ash said out of nowhere. Why, you look presentable. Elena said, not bothering to look at Ash. I know that, but when I'm beside you, I want to look my best. You are a very beautiful lady. Ash said as he kisses her hair. And you're a handsome guy that makes us even. Elena said as she looked at Ash and smiled before nuzzling on Ash's chest once again. Even I really don't understand the way you think, but I guess that's one of the reasons why I love you. Ash whispered to her as he landed on the ground. When they landed, Koyuki and Pikachu hurriedly run towards them. Ash placed Elena on her feet as Koyuki tackled him down but did not fall to the ground thanks to his wings, which just made him float in midair. Elena on the other caught Pikachu as he jumped at her. Elena then patted the top of his head. Whoa there Koyuki, take it easy. I haven't even retracted my wings. Ash said as he patted Koyuki's back. Sorry, father, I was just worried. Koyuki said as she smiled at her father. Koyuki then jumped off his father, and Ash landed at his feet once again. With a grunt, Ash retracted his wings, letting some excess feathers from his wings fly all over the place. Hey Ash, does your wings hurt you whenever you retract them? Elena asked, looking at Ash with a worried expression. It's fine, I'm used to the pain when I'm using them. My wings are a part of my body, so it is only naturally that I feel a bit of pain when I'm retracting them. It may hurt a bit, but only for a while. Ash said cheerfully, but Elena just looked at him worriedly. Ash notices this and patted her shoulder and smiled cheerfully at her. Relax Elena, I'm only going to use my wings when I'm flying, training, or if I have to use my full power. Elena didn't look convinced but nodded nevertheless. Just promise that you won't do anything that will endanger your life. I still am worried about the missions that those legendaries are giving you. Come on now Elena, I'm an Aura Prince, those missions are my responsibilities. Ash said with a tender voice. Elena wasn't still convinced. Just be safe, I know how powerful you are, but. Elena looked down. But if something happens to you, I don't know what I'll do with myself. Elena said in the verge of tears. Ash looked at her for a moment before grabbing one of the feathers that was scattered on the ground. He then gently caresses Elena's cheeks and guiding it towards him, so that they are facing each other. When they were facing each other, Ash smiled at her. Don't worry about me, but if you want something to make sure I'm alive. Quote. Ash focus aura energy on the feather that he was holding, and after a few seconds, the feather transformed from a feather to a beautiful, crystal-like, blue lotus flower. Ash then placed the crystal lotus on Elena's right ear. This crystal flower will not break as long I am alive. Until this crystal lotus is in one piece, I am still alive. This will prove to you that whenever I am alive, because I cannot die until I fulfill my dream, Ash said with a gentle smile. Elena removed the flower and gazed at it with a loving eye. Thank you for this will keep me in peace when we are not together. She then looked at Ash and smiled at him. It's very common for a girl to have mood swings when it comes to the person that they love, but please don't say that you're ready to die when you become the greatest Pokémon Master. Elena said in a scolding manner. Who said that's my dream? Ash asked, which confused Elena. Ash chuckled and wrapped his two strong arms around Elena's waist. Being the greatest Pokémon Master would be nice, but that is not my dream. It is no longer my dream. Ash told her. Then, what is your dream? Elena asked, wrapping her two tender arms around Ash's neck. Ash smiled at her while looking at her with passion and love. He then buried his head on Elena's shoulder, smelling the aroma of her hair. My dream is to marry you and start a family with you, Ash said in whisper. Elena's eyes widened before they softened up, tears threatening to fall. Elena wrapped her arms around Ash's neck tighter as she buried her neck into his chest. You have no idea how happy I am right now, Elena stated in a blissful tone. I have an idea, Ash said in a chuckle, tightening his hold on Elena's waist. The two of them were loose on their passionate and loving embrace that they did not notice Pikachu's and Koyuki's reactions to their romantic exchange. I think I'm going to be sick, Pikachu plainly stated after watching the scene that unfolded in front of him. Koyuki on the other hand was crying, anime style. Father is so sweet, promising mother to marry her and start family with her, Koyuki said as she wiped tears from her eyes. Pikachu looked at him with a disgusted expression before gazing at the sleeping dragon and the penguin who was trying to wake her up. Salamence better wake up soon before I vomit because of this mushy stuff, Pikachu said in a low whisper. Scene change. A large salamence flown to the air with amazing speed headed towards a designated direction. On top of them were Elena and Koyuki. Koyuki was a bit upset that they were leaving her father, but nevertheless she understands why. Elena on the other hand was depressed as she looked at the crystal lotus and the necklace that Ash gave her. Do I really have to return so early? I still have a lot time left before I have to go back to the company and work, and as if I'll get fired if I spend a month with Ash. My father does own that company and it's not too late to go back to Ash, Elena thought, but dismisses the idea after thinking it through. Oh yeah, if I do that, father may send Sarah or, God forbids, Jay to find me. Sarah will probably go over the top and use every bit of her Pokémons to find me, destroying everything in their path in the process, and Jay may use every damn resource she has and she might kill my Ash, or Ash might kill her. It's very lucky that Ash and Jay have not yet met, or else Ash would have taken care of her. Oh well, Jay isn't dumb enough to make those legendaries her enemies. Elena's sweat dropped at that thought. Yeah, Jay making enemies with those legendaries, as if, my sister is smarter than that, I hope. Elena said to practically no one. What do you mean legendaries? A rough yet feminine voice said, which caused Elena to jump. Woohh, who's there? Elena said as she looked at the source of the voice. She was startled to see her sister, the infamous Hunter Jay, beside her, riding her salamence in beside her salamence. Elena let out a sigh of relief after seeing that it was only Hunter Jay, or in short her elder sister. She quickly hid the crystal lotus in her necklace. You shouldn't scare me like that, Jane, Elena exclaimed after taking a couple of breaths. How many times must I tell you, do not call me that? Jay shouted, which caused Elena to cover her ears. Shush sis, I'm right her, no need to yell. Elena rubbing her ears. So what brings you to this side of Shino? Elena asked. Is visiting my favorite sister not good enough of a reason? Jay said in a cold tone as she set foot on her sister's salamence. Oh no, that's a very good reason. Sarah would be delighted to see you. Elena said humorously. That causes her sister to strangle her jokingly. I would never spare that annoying whelp a moment of my life. Jay exclaimed angrily. Okay, Jay, just relax, I was just kidding. Elena said while laughing at her older sister's outburst. You should not kid around of me. Jay said, finally calming down. So I see you are finally taking breaks and not burying yourself on those books and scriptures. Well, somebody, Ash, taught me to live my life. Elena said with a bright smile. Jay merely smirked before taking out a container from her coat. Here, drink up, Jay said as she threw the container to her sister. Elena took the container and drank whatever was in it. You like it? It's a brand new recipe. Jay asked her sister as she recalls her salamence and set foot on her sister's salamence. You know, sis, you should really give up being a hunter and start up your very own tea shop, you'll make a fortune. Elena said, finishing the tea that was on the container before throwing it towards Jay. Thanks, but you do know that it is too late for me. Jay said as she caught and hid the container. You know it not too late for you to change. Dad can help you. Elena never finished her statement when Jay threw her a cold gaze. I will never consider that man as my father. Because of that bastard mother died and left us three to fend for ourselves for 5 years. Because of that bastard I have to abandon my dream to support us because he has to choose his dream before his family. If I had my way I would had kill him with my bare hands. Jay stated with venom in her voice. Elena sighed. She should have known that changing her sister isn't going to be that easy. So what have you been up to? Elena asked, which caused Jay to raise an eyebrow. Why would you ask something so unimportant? This is unlike you. Jay commented. I told you, somebody taught me to enjoy life. Elena said to her with a smile. And who, pray tell, is that? Jay asked, her curiosity overwhelming her. Elena looked at her and said in a gentle and proud voice. He is the most magnificent man that I have ever met, and that is all you need to know. Jay was shocked at that statement. Normally Elena would be extremely shy around men, but the way he described this man, it seems like she is fond of this man. After a moment Jay once again asked. So who is this magnificent man you're talking about, and please, whatever you do, don't tell me that is that creep show Justin that works on your company, because if you do, I will kill him. Jay plainly stated. Elena laughed at her sister's statement. Come on sis, Justin, as if. He is a good guy but he creeps me out. Elena laughed, remembering her friend. No, that person I am telling you about is somebody that could be described as a prince. Elena commented with a dreamy look on her face. Jay looked at her sister's dreamy expression and shrugged, whatever, just don't speak of him ever again while in front me. She cared for her sister but do not wish to hear her crush. That's fine with me sis, so what have you been doing? Elena asked once again. Jay looked at her sister and sighed. If you must know, I'm not doing well, my last 3 missions was a failure. Jay exclaimed, which startled Elena. Failure? What do you mean failure? You never fail any of those missions. Elena said in shock. Well, the reason that I failed those missions is because of that brat's interference. Jay growled at the thought of that brat who had interfered and thwarted her plans. So who is this brat that you are talking about? Elena asked curiously. As far as she knew, nobody had crossed her sister without having a painful end. The brat's name is Ash Ketchum. Jay replied, causing Elena and Koyuki's eyes widen after hearing that name. That brat has been a thorn in my side for quite some time now. Jay added with a growl as she began tells Elena her run-ins with Ash. Elena on the other hand was thinking frantically. I didn't know that she and Ash had already met. Shit, this is bad. I know Jay is very capable, but against Ash, she wouldn't survive a minute. But she's still alive after their meeting, so it means that Ash hadn't shown her his aura, or he has somebody there to prevent him from using it. I do hope that Jay hadn't make enemies with those legendaries or hasn't caused any big trouble that will force them to send Ash to her. Shit, I should have told Ash about her all those times so he could at least talk to her. He's way better at changing people than I. Elena was cut off on her train of thoughts when Jay tapped her shoulder. Hey sis, you okay? You were dozing off. Jay worriedly remarked. Oh yeah, I'm okay, now tell me about this, Ash, person. Elena said, holding Koyuki's hand for two reasons, one to calm herself down and two to restrain Koyuki, who looks like on the verge of attacking her sister. Jay looked at her questioningly but nevertheless told her all her run-ins with Elena's secret lover. Well, it all started after an hour. And that's how that brat stopped me from obtaining Regigigas. Jay said, finishing her story. If that brat once again comes between me and my plans, I swear he'll get it. Jay added with a growl as she closed her eyes, thinking of ways on how to inflict pain on that brat. Elena and Koyuki on the other hand were furious. Elena was torn from telling Jay that she almost, multiples time, killed her lover or just kill her, right there and there. She loved her sister, Jay was her favorite sister, but she loved Ash more, and knowing that, in front of her was a person, even though she's her sister, had almost killed him several times, made her blood boils. She kept reminding herself that Jay was her sister in some points of her story to restrain herself from killing her. Koyuki on the other, just plainly want to strangle, torture, and kill the woman in front of her. Nobody would even harm her father, as long as she's around, and knowing that in front of her was somebody that almost killed her father, multiple times made her furious, and the fact that she could not kill her is not helping her out. Hell, she could kill her, but it would make her mother sad, and that was not acceptable. So Jay, what are you planning to do when you meet this Ash again in the near future? Elena asked with a dangerous edge in her voice, and Koyuki was openly growling at her. This would have scared any normal person, but Jay didn't even notice. If I met him again, I would probably just kidnap him, Jay said with a sly smile. Elena and Koyuki face fault after hearing that. Elena thought that Jay would probably kill him, torture him, or both, but not to kidnap him. Why would you kidnap him, Jay? Elena asked with a curious tone. Easy, I hate that kid, but even I would admit that that kid is very special, Jay said, looking the sky. I would just kidnap him to merely get to know him better because I respect him. Never in all my years in Pokémon hunting have I fought someone as determined as he is, and he is probably the most resilient person I know. He is also kind of cute, especially those brown eyes of his. Jay whispered the last part with a blush unknowingly form on her cheeks. Elena was on the verge of killing her sister after she hearing her description of Ash. Koyuki on the other hand was only being restrained by Elena's hand from killing the woman in front of her. Jay looked at the confusedly, but when she saw the upcoming island, her eyes narrow. She stood up and threw a poke ball in the air, unleashing her salamence. Hey sis, why did you summon salamence? Elena asked, confused at her sister's actions. Jay jumped to her salamence back and gazed at her younger sister. I have to go before. Jay was cut off by a very powerful hyper beam that went past her and Elena. Oh shit, it's too late. Jay groaned, knowing who fired the hyper beam. Hey Elena, why is that annoying witch with you? High voice that was unmistakably female shouted. Jay's eyes twitch after being called a witch, and Elena laughed nervously, knowing what will happen next. In a matter of seconds, a large dragonite appeared between the two salamence, and at its back was a beautiful girl. Hey Elena, the girl greeted cheerfully with a smile as she gazed at the white-haired girl. She then gazed at Jay and narrowed her eyes. Hello Jane. The girl gritted with a sharp voice. Hello Sarah. Jay replied dryly. Sarah appeared upon her two sisters. She was very childish yet mature. She is very beautiful. Her beauty could be compared to a princess, with her fierce crimson eyes, long silky black hair. Her face was very mature comparing to her age, and a very well-developed body similar to her two sisters. She was also not afraid to show her developed and sexy body, because unlike Elena and Jay who prefers to hide their body, she has no problem showing hers. She was wearing a tight, red, leather dress that shows her belly and a little of her cleavage, and a very skimpy skirt that show her smooth legs, and over them was a lab coat. She stood at the height of 5 feet and 5 inches tall. She was also a genius when it comes towards Pokémon, whether it be breeding, battling, raising, or researching. She is nothing short of a genius. Also, she has a very complex relation with her sisters. She adores Elena, her younger sister, So much that anyone who even looked at her wrong would probably spend some time in the hospital, and she dislikes her older sister, Jay. Sarah and Jay glared at each other before which, Sarah said, "Brat." Jay retorted back, "Creep. Idiot. Terrorist. Quitter. Okay, that is enough, both of you stop acting like children." Elena yelled, which stopped the sister from throwing verbal jabs at each other, but still glared at each other for a good 5 minutes. Elena sighed at her sister's childish acts and looked at Jay for a moment. "So Jay, are you staying for dinner?" Elena asked. "And spend some time with this cretin?" "No thanks Elena. See you Elena when I see you, but I refuse to even look at this whelp." With that Jay flew off to Arceus knows where. "Well, for the record, I also don't want to see you, you no good witch." Sarah growled at the retreating form of her older sister. "You do know that she is still our older sister," Elena said to her. "Don't remind me." Sarah grumbled before looking at Elena and smiled childishly. "Hey Lena, how was your break? You came back 5 days earlier, again," Sarah said with a childish tone. "I know now and I'll tell you all about it, but first we need to go down," Elena said as she ordered her salamence to go down, but first she yelled, "Don't call me Lena." Sarah laughed before following her little sister down to the ground. Scene change. When they reached the ground, Elena recalled her salamence and let Koyuki stood beside her. "Well, looks like we're back home," Elena said with a sigh. She was suddenly stumbled on the ground when she felt great weight of her back. "Hey little sis, how are you?" Sarah asked with a smile as she pinned her sister to the ground. "Get off me Sarah," Elena yelled at her sister while Sarah merely grins at her. "Come on Elena, I'm not that heavy," Sarah stated, head locked, Elena. "Koyuki," Elena shouted, and with a flash, Sarah was off Elena and was thrown a foot in the air. "Thanks Koyuki," Elena said, dusting herself. "Amazing, her strength is really amazing," Sarah said, who suddenly appeared in front of Koyuki, scarring her off. "Don't do that Sarah, Koyuki isn't comfortable being sneak upon," Elena said while a thought run through her head. "She's not comfortable because you're the only one who can surpass her aura detecting skill, which even I am scared of." Elena shivered at that thought. Sarah giggled a bit. "Sorry for that, but shall we?" Sarah then pointed at a jeep that was parked on the edge of the cliff. Elena's sweat dropped after seeing how poorly the jeep was parked on the edge of a cliff, but shook her head. That was typical Sarah. "Let's go then, I need to talk to Dad anyway," Elena said as she walked towards the jeep. "Why do you still call him Dad? You could just call him Henry," Sarah exclaimed before jumping into the jeep. "I call him Dad because he is our dad," Elena answered back as she enters the jeep. Koyuki jumped at the back and quickly drifted to sleep. "Father, nah. Our dad died back then when Mother died," Sarah said with a bright tone. Elena merely shook her head. The one thing that both Sarah and Jay have in common is that they would never acknowledge their real and biological father as their real father. "You know, it's great that you are finally taking breaks, but you do know that you and the other are only required to work for 2 weeks in a month and the other 2 weeks are meant for rest, right?" Sarah said as she began to drive the jeep. The jeep started and began to move towards the large building in the middle of the town. "I know that, but I love my work," Elena said in a half-truth, half-lie manner. "You do know I can see through your lie, but I wouldn't press, it's your choice," Sarah said, removing the lab coat that she was wearing. "Finally I could remove that coat, it's way too hot," Sarah complains. Elena groaned after seeing her sister remove her coat, which did not go unnoticed by Sarah. "What? So I like wearing revealing clothes, is it bad for me to show off my wonderful body to the world?" Sarah stated, which caused Elena to slap her forehead. "No, but could you at least cover up some parts? I don't like boys throwing themselves in front of you," Elena exclaimed desperately. "Hey, what wrong with that? And if I'm not mistaken, you have your fair share of suitors," Sarah retorted. "Which I am not interested, I may add. As if I will lower myself to people who would only looked at my body and has no interest of knowing me," Elena growled, remembering those suitors that didn't receive the message that she wasn't interested to them and she was already taken. She was even forced to unleash Koyuki on some of them and it did not end well for them. I know Elena, that's why I also rejected them too. I am also not interested in people whose only interest at my looks and my fame. Sarah sighs in displeasure. The curse of fame really sucks. Your fault, Sarah, it's your fault. Elena stated. I know, being famous sucks, but I do know that even if I'm famous and people only wanted to date me because of that reason, that I would find somebody that is worthy of me. Sarah said with a smirk. Elena giggled at that and said, you would have found that person if your standard wasn't that high. Hey, I don't have high standards, I just was my man to be handsome like a prince, has a sexy body, romantic, compassionate, have high dreams, determined, a gentleman, a good Pokemon's trainer or at least have potential to be good, and cares for Pokemon. Is that so hard to ask? Sarah whined, which caused Elena to groan desperately for two reasons. One reason is because she just stated something that she had heard a million times from her, and second reason, and the most important reason, was because she just described Ash. I'm lucky that I met Ash first, or else I would have my two older sisters to be my love rivals. Elena thought as they arrived to a large building. We're here, Elena, now calm on, Henry wants to see you. Sarah said as she stepped outside the jeep. Yeah. Elena was about to step out the jeep when she felt something vibrating from her pocket. She smiled knowingly because that was her phone, but not just an ordinary phone, it was the phone that she used to contact Ash and vice versa. Come on, Elena, I don't have all day. Sarah complained, noticing that Elena was taking too long to leave the jeep. Sorry sis, but I have to go, come on Koyuki. With that said, Elena dashed inside the building with Koyuki in tow. Sarah merely looked at where her sister had run off to. She's fast, Sarah said out of nowhere. Scene change. Elena and Koyuki stopped by at her office and locked the door. She then reached the phone and flicked it open, revealing an image of Ash on the screen. She smiled after seeing her beloved, even if it was just an electronic image. Hey Ash, Elena greeted with a smile. Hey Elena, Ash greeted with a cheerful tone, happy to see his beloved even if it was only through a phone.